Cascade Hoops Talk, this is Billy D. Hey, today we have a special show for you. We're going to have Steve Drabyn, Bethel Pilots, and Scott Moore, Grace Lancers, talking about Wednesday's big matchup. Buckle up. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Cascade Hoops Talk, produced in the shadow of the beautiful Cascade Mountains and bringing the world NAIA basketball. One podcast at a time. Hey, thank you everybody for tuning in. We have one top 25 game we'll fill you in on in just a couple minutes. But first, we want to bring you Scott Moore and Steve Drabyn, two of the best guys in the Crossroads. Of course, Greg Tonicle's going to call me up and throw oranges at me, and so is Austin Peters. Actually, a lot of great coaches in the Crossroads. But we got on the phone and bantered for about a half hour about this game coming up on Wednesday in Winona Lake. It's a big matchup. These two coaches are good friends. You can really pick that up in the show, and it's. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's what NAIA basketball is all about. But this is one big game, as you can see in the standings. I'm not sure you can pick it up there, but Grace is right now one game up on Bethel and Taylor, and so Bethel has to go to Winona Lake on Wednesday. I'm going to shut up and let's listen to these two guys banter about. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Steve Drabyn, Bethel University, and Scott Moore, Grace College. I got two guys on the phone. I'm going to see if they can both behave. How you guys doing this morning?
I'm good, but why did Steve get announced first? Why am I second?
Well, because you're out in the sticks of Winona Lake.
And I was being kind here, giving Scott the first opportunity to speak, which I knew was going to be some type of sarcastic comment at me. So,
well, Steve, you're in the sticks of Mishawaka, so.
Sticks of Mishawaka being the second largest shopping district in Indiana behind Indianapolis. How are we the sticks?
Okay, we're off to a great start. So these two teams are going to face off tomorrow. We're recording this on Monday, but it'll come out Tuesday morning. Scott, I want to start with you just real quick. Just talk about the Crossroads League, and people around the country will probably get mad I use this word, but really the dominance the Crossroad League has shown across the country in their non-conference this year.
Yeah, it kind of rinse repeat. Obviously there's great conferences out there. I know the Mid-South obviously is always a powerhouse, and the GSAC is really good, and you obviously have some other conferences across the country that have really shown out. But again, it's funny. One of those Steve would tell you the same thing. It seems like every year we graduate these guys in this league, and you're like, oh, finally it's going to get a little easier, and then all of a sudden, just new names pop up, and it's just the same. So, I think just this weekend I pulled up just the teams again just to take a peek at everybody, and gosh, you look at there, and Huntington has some monster wins this year, mm-hmm. and a team that new coach, and Jared was picked I think 8th in the league preseason, and I think they have 5 top 20 wins on the year, like out of their 12 wins. Wesleyan's Wesleyan. Steve has just done obviously a tremendous job there, and I think they're sitting at 16-1 now in the year, which is tremendous. One of the best teams in the country. And Taylor, with Austin, a quick turnaround here, and I think they're 14-3 or 15-3, and right there in the conference play. So every year you're kind of thinking like, okay, this is the year where it's going to get a little easier, and then you turn around and you go, oh shoot. All 10 of these teams are good again. And so, we talk about it. It is challenging as a coach. You can't really take a breath. But also I think in a good way, I think it really challenges you to continue to evolve. And it does. It makes you a better coach. I think these 9 guys in this league really challenge me. And the guy on the phone with me right now is one that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and someone who gets the best out of me every time we play. And I think that's what the Crossroads League does to you.
Steve?
I think it's interesting. Scott's been in the league longer than I have, as a player and as a coach. And for me, coming in the league 7 years ago now, it's hard to believe it's been that long. But, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. And I just think it's a league where, we just all sharpen each other. When we recruit in the spring and summer, gosh, what do we need to beat a Grace, to beat an Indiana Wesleyan, mm-hmm. to beat a Huntington, all the way down the line. And so I think we just, sharpen each other, and helps us when we go against other leagues. And, going through the gauntlet of the Crossroads League, if you're fortunate to make the national tournament, you just get battle tested and prepared. And it's fun. It's one of the reasons I wanted to come to Bethel, because I knew it was going to challenge myself as a coach, like Scott mentioned, and, it's going to make our team better. And, I always say you need 5 things to win in this league. You need talent, you need coaching, you need skill, you need culture, you need health, and you need a little bit of luck. That might have been 6. But you need all those. You don't have one of those, it's hard to win. It's hard to win with all those.
Steve, I've kind of been teasing you a little bit this season. You're out I think you're out for a dual title. I think you're 8-0 in the Chicagoland. You have more wins than Olivet and Nazarene in the Chicagolands. And then you're going to battle Scott for the Crossroads League title lead on a Wednesday. You got to just talk about, obviously you're right up there near the Chicagolands.
It is, and the challenging part, and Scott will could talk about it too. It's hard for us to schedule because a lot of our league games early on in November, December are around, or not at the same times, and so it makes it challenging to schedule. Maybe WAC schools, CCAC schools, and we went to Florida last year, played Ave Maria and Florida Memorial down there. We were trying to get. We did Costa Rica mission trip this summer, and looking at funds, we decided to kind of stay around here and maybe do some mini trips. And we're trying to play, Georgetown again, and Freed Harbin type schools. And dates didn't work out, and weren't able to schedule some of those games. And so, just looking at our schedule, we just kind of found some CCAC teams on it. Which is good. There's a ton of athletes in that league, and
absolutely.
Again, if we're fortunate to make the national tournament, we're going to play against LSUA like last year, and those games help us prepare for those types of games.
Let's go back over to you for a second. Talk to both of you a little bit about your teams. First thing, when I look at your team, and this is what really amazes me, is you're so young. You've got a couple of juniors, Rosh and Sefton, that are kind of leading you, but you play a ton of freshmen and sophomores. And you play a ton of guys. Just talk a little about your team and its makeup.
I don't know. It's just every coach has their own philosophy and their own thing that works. And obviously, as the landscape changed in college basketball with the transfer and the portal and moving, and it just we kind of went the other direction. And I felt that our school in particular. And honestly, I think Steve is very similar in this. I think we both very much prefer 4-year guys that want to be here. I think we both value, maybe the relationship piece, and that not more than others, but like that's a premium for us. And I felt really it was hard. We had a 1-year guy transfer last year, and he was really good for us, and he was a great young man and really helped us win. But he got done, and I'm like, gosh, I just didn't feel like I had enough time with him, just from a relationship standpoint. And so, we're not afraid to take transfers. We had some really good ones. Frankie Davidson was a transfer for us. I felt like, look, we were going to graduate 7 seniors last year from a really good team. Those guys had kind of built this up over the course of 4 years, and, we had a choice. Do we want to try to Band-Aid it together, or do we just want to try to keep doing what we've been successful at? And we just committed to the freshmen and committed to getting the sophomores better. And then obviously we knew we had some good pieces coming back with Rosh and with Sefton, just from a leadership standpoint. And so, our class is really talented. I think them being around last year quite a bit really helped us, because I think they just were around to see our culture and our guys. They were in the locker room a lot, and I think that really helped. I think they were really excited to join something like this. And so I do think early on in the summer, I kind of noticed that, like, hey, I think the cohesion piece of it, which is you never know, right? I think that was a little bit fast forward than I thought it would be. And so they still do freshman things. Obviously, they still I don't have hair for a reason. There's some things that you're always trying to improve on, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't think that we were a little further along with this group now than I anticipated.
So Steve, you go over. I look at your roster, and you bring in a lot of 4-year guys as well. But your team this season just a little longer in the tooth. Colin Comer is a senior. Luke McBride's a junior. Al's a senior. Just talk about your team and its makeup.
Yeah, Colin Cummer's actually a junior.
Oh, okay. My mistake. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, so really just the one senior, Al Petulus. And, yeah, to go along with Scott said, we're similar in our philosophies and trying to get more four-year guys and build those relationships. I think – and it took us a couple years to do that. We had, I think, 4 guys on our roster when I took the job 7 years ago. And so in late April, and so we had to take some transfers early and trying to, just at least get a roster of guys that, enough guys that we can play. And it took a couple years to kind of get back into our philosophy of more traditional four-year guys and, taking a transfer or two, guys that fit and make sense. And but I think I heard a coach, Billy D, on your podcast a week ago. I can't remember which coach it was, talk about if you have a guy in your program and he comes back for another year, he's just automatically going to be better
right.
Just because he's used to the system, the coaching. He knows the drills in practice. He knows what you're trying to do. And, you look at Grace over there, just having guys come back year after year after year. They just know what they're doing. Scott probably doesn't even need to be at practice. The guys can probably run it. So we're trying to get something similar over here where guys know what we're doing, know the drill, know our philosophies, and, we can just kind of get out of the way and let them play, let them be players. And, in the relationship piece of it too, that Scott alluded to, and, helping them grow as young men. Obviously, we want them to leave here, going out and to have a great career, but even more than that, just to have a purpose within that career, having an impact on their society, in their churches, in their families.
Yep.
And, that's what matters to Grace and Bethel.
Well, if I could add on that too, I want to, and I think Steve's being somewhat modest on this, because I do believe, I don't think guys just get better everywhere. And I think that's the one thing, if I could say, hey, what has Steve done there? What do we try to do here? What are some, other places in the league? You talk about Cottingham at Spring Arbor. Mm-hmm. Guys come in the league and everybody wants immediate, it's such a microwave culture now of hey, if I'm not playing 35 minutes and I'm the best player, what am I doing? And the reality is to come in this league and be really good as a freshman is really hard to do. It's really hard to do. So, I'm looking over Steve's roster as we kind of getting ready to play them. And, a great example of, an Austin Kripe who, did he redshirt Steve as a freshman?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, just coming in and he was a good high school player. There's no question. He was really talented, had a lot of offers in our league. He's not even talked about last year. And then all of a sudden he comes back, he's averaging 17 plus a game. You're like, holy cow, where did this kid come from? So I don't think that happens everywhere. I think coaches, there are some really good developers of talent, and there's other coaches who are just going to pass you over. If you're not developing now, we're moving on and we're going to bring in another kid. And I don't think that's always the right thing to do. I think it does take time, right? These kids are 17, 18, 19 years old when they get in here, and gosh, they're just, I think about Cannon Hauser for us, where as a freshman, just, didn't have much of a role. And now, man, every game I come back in the locker room going, gosh, that kid was so big for us. Just the minutes he played. Ian Rosh played 8 minutes a game as a freshman, behind a lot of talent. So that's just, to Steve's credit, too. He's one of the best, I think, at taking guys, sticking with them, and really turning them into not only really good basketball players, but just having the confidence to be really good. And honestly, I think that's part of the reason why Bethel's good right now. So just, I think it's harder than what maybe he thinks it's credit for, because he's one of the best at it.
Scott, I'm going to stick with you for a moment. We talk all the time how every night's a big challenge, a war, if you will, in the Crossroads. It's battle after battle. But what makes this Grace-Bethel matchup special? It's kind of a special matchup every year.
I think the thing that makes it special is the respect. If you can't tell, just us talking, Steve and I are good friends, and we give each other a hard time. But I think both of us, I just think we really respect the other jersey. There are times, obviously, you don't like the other jersey. There's times, we're gonna be friends and we'll go out to dinner, but I expect on Wednesday night him to come in here and just absolutely for 40 minutes just want to kick my teeth in. And you don't have to like that, but we're going to try to do it the same way against them. And I think if you do it the right way, I think there's just such a high respect level for the coaches, the preparation, the players. I think that's it. I think that's where the rivalry, it's the way a rivalry should be, honestly. I think some rivalries can get kind of nasty and can get the wrong way. But I think it starts at the top in the leadership, and I think, Steve's going to have his kids ready to play. I'm going to have my kids ready to play, and they're going to both compete, and it will be a fun matchup to watch for everybody that gets to be here. And I think that's what I look forward to, is just the quality of the play and the kids that are doing it. So that's what makes it special.
So, Steve, I'll go over to you.
There's no doubt. I mean, rivalries are fun. It's fun for the fans. Respect that, people come to the games and families and whatnot. I think we had a spiritual director for formation, previous school I was at, talk about Christian competition. And it's not so much me versus you, us versus them, as it is, we want to perform in such a way that we have to raise the other, our opponent's level of play. And I think that's just the Grace and Bethel rivalry. Coach Moore and Coach Widener, Coach Halstead raise our staff's level of coaching ability, and hopefully we do that with them, and same with our players and their players. And it's just such a, like Scott said, a healthy respect, and it's fun. We're close proximity. We're going to try to get a nice fan bus over there. I'm sure they're going to bring a ton of people, and it's just fun. I don't think I've, in my coaching career or playing career, I've been a part of I know we have an opportunity to be in the top five, in a top five matchup. So that's fun. It's exciting, good for both schools, good for the league. And hopefully we can both show the crowd a good product on Wednesday.
Scott, let's talk about the game a little bit. You've been obviously scouting Bethel. They've got a lot of experience. They got a lot of guys who can do different things. When you look at Bethel, what do you? And obviously, I know you're not going to tell Steve your whole game plan, but what do the Lancers have to do to get a home victory Wednesday?
I mean, it can be cliche a little bit, but as I've gotten older and into this, I think you have to be prepared, and you gotta scout, and you gotta know what the other tendencies are. But really, Billy, I kind of just absorb myself with us. I try really hard to let Jordan and Steve kind of focus on, like, hey, how are we going to guard Kripe? How are we going to keep him off the glass? But Bethel's always been good at that. Like, Steve's teams have always rebounded well. They run well in transition. They're one of the best offensive teams in the country. Like, that's not going to change. So you kind of know the skeleton of it going into it. But I think for me, just as I've gotten older, it's been much more, okay, what do we have to do to put ourselves in position to be able to compete with a top five team? So that's kind of what I'll do, is I'll spend a little bit more time on us. We'll go back, and I've kind of broken down some of the last couple games here of how we played and how we can keep getting better. And, we won't touch a ton on Bethel today. We'll kind of put a bow on us and what we need to do. And I feel like once we're ready there, I think we'll start to do tendencies. But if I were to guess and kind of put it out there, I think obviously, offensively, we got to stop actions. They're great at movement. They're really unselfish. And they've continually rebounded so well that, getting second, third, fourth opportunities, you give any team 3 opportunities, let alone a team that shoots it like Steve's team. It doesn't matter what you do. You're going to get beat. So that'll be a big focus for us, I know.
So, Steve, over to you. Kind of the same question, but you're going to face a big hostile crowd as well on Saturday. How are you getting your team ready? What do you need to do to come out of there with a win on Saturday? Or not Saturday, on Wednesday, sorry.
Wednesday. So Coach Moore's saying that Coach Halstead and Widener should get most of the credit. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's going to give his pay to him. I think I heard him say that.
Hey, trust me, I am not shy on pushing the credit to both of them because they deserve a lot of it.
Kidding aside, it's very similar here. Myself and our staff, we kind of putting a bow on our game, Mount Vernon on Saturday, and just trying to focus on how do we get better and do what we do. I mean, we're both 17 games in. We know Grace, they know us. So just focusing on how do we get better as a team. So very similar to Scott there in that. But however, then same with Grace. Grace is who they are. They're big, they're long, they're athletic. They play. I'm not sure there's a harder playing team in the country.
Right.
I'm not sure it's even close. And they've got depth, and they bring guys off the bench that are just as good or can be just as good on any given night. And it just doesn't stop. It doesn't end. The pressure and the constant push the ball up the floor and the rebounding. And he talks about our rebounding. Holy cow. Grace is as good a rebounding team as there's been in the country many, many years. So, yeah, I mean, like Scott said, we are who we are. We have our identities, and I think that's one thing that makes us, both consistent at what we do. We have an identity, and we stick to it, and our guys know, who they are and what we're about, and which identity can win out in the end. It's going to take a big effort from us to compete and, see if we can compete with them on a 40-minute game.
Scott, I want to ask both you guys a last question before we end is about, as you look at NAIA basketball around the country, the landscape has changed. There's some more parity. Conferences are pretty tight. It's kind of been a different, almost a reshuffle year. What have you seen as you look across the national landscape this season?
It is different, but again, there's a lot of similarities. Like, obviously some teams in the past that have had a lot of success. I think you're seeing some changeover with, some older guys graduating or some transfers moving out, some really good players, some coaches retiring, things like that. So that always has an effect. But the reality is it's kind of the same old. You take a look and like, oh, Freed Hardman's good again, right? Like, oh, there's Ave Maria. Oh, look, Bethel and Huntington are good again, right? You look out west. Oregon Tech is good again. Oh, there's ACU. Guess what? They're always in the national tournament. So it is a little different. Like, I think, you had all those older guys graduate at College of Idaho, and they were so dominant for a while, but it's going to take 30 seconds, and then Colby will get those kids, and they'll be back to winning, 28, 30 games again. So I just think the good programs, the good coaches, if there is a lapse, man, it's not very long. Like, it's a year max, right? So I think really it's this season more than ever. I think last couple of years you could have said, okay, I think these are the 3 or 4 teams that are probably going to, like, one of these 4 are going to win this, right? And I think you could probably figure that out about this time in January. You got to be a little lucky, like Steve said. You got to have some health, and you got to be playing really good basketball. But I think the last 3 or 4 years, you probably, like, there weren't really many surprises. I think going to the national tournament this year, like, there's a lot of things to be shaken out still in these conferences where it's like, man, it's kind of wide open. I don't think there's necessarily, a favorite. I think that every one of us has flaws. I think, we're sitting the number 1 team in the country right now, and, but I haven't had, there's only been 3 of these guys that have actually played in a national tournament, like 3 of them. So, what does that look like? So everybody, I think it's kind of wide open right now. It's been fun to see the races. The GPAC's always tight. The Cascade here, you got all the Oregon teams that are right there. The Sun Conference, like Kaiser's, sniffing right there with Ave Maria, and the River States is tight, and obviously the Crossroads is tight, and it's going to be till the end. So that's what makes it fun. Is like, holy cow, January basketball is some of the best there is.
Steve, some of your thoughts on the national picture?
Yeah, Scott probably knows a little bit more than I do, just being on those committees, ranking committees and whatnot, and our Raider. But yeah, I mean, Coach Cottingham and I, we played at Spring Arbor last week. We were talking about it a little bit, and there might be some talent. Some of your better players in the country maybe don't have as many, but however, what hasn't changed, and Scott alluded to, is just the coaching and the offensive skill level of the players at this level. Just phenomenal. I mean, we go to Spring Arbor. I think right now they're sitting at 2-5 in our conference, but man, are they good, and they can beat anybody at any given night. And they've had, just had some tough, close losses, but just so hard to play, so disciplined. So Coach Cottingham and Coach Ted Stowe do a phenomenal job. And you look at Huntington having a couple of tough losses, but I think they probably have the 4 or 5 some of the best wins in the country. Mm-hmm. So you look, like Scott mentioned, other conferences. Where coaching is just so good. And so it's going to be interesting going down the stretch, kind of which teams separate, which conferences separate. And it's going to make for definitely a fun national tournament.
For me, one of the funner things about this year is The level of freshmen that we're getting in the NAI with the transfer portal now, the freshmen aren't getting recruited across the country. I think it's different in Indiana, but there's some great freshmen out there this year.
Yeah, I do think that we are fortunate. Steve and I are fortunate. Is I think the negative piece about it is we have a lot of eyeballs on a lot of these kids. So it's not like if there's a good player, I mean the entire league's on him, right? He's not going to be a hidden gem most likely. But in saying that I think the Crossroads League here in Indiana now has so much respect and it carries so much weight that, these kids now, if it's a Penn kid or if it's a Homestead kid, like we have the luxury of outside of UIndy, like we just don't have any Division IIs around here. And I think they understand the level of competition that, they go to these games, if these kids come to this game Wednesday night, they're leaving going, holy smokes. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
This atmosphere is, and then, they'll go to some other places, but I believe that the best jobs in the NAI right now are so much better than the low majors. It's not even close. I think if you go about it, and I can only speak again for my job, where if you're comparing like a Grace to, a low major, like the fan base is obviously way better. We got a great campus. You have a community. We've been winning. We have scholarship dollars we're able to give and make school affordable. They're getting good degrees. But also for a coaching standpoint, like I'm not having to recruit my own players every single year. We're not going to, May and going like, holy cow, how do I replace 10 guys?
Yep,
and it's
exactly.
May of the next year, right? The turnover and like the pressure. And the other thing, Billy, is I'm not talking any agent. Like when I recruit a kid, when Steve recruits a kid, we're not sitting down and having a kid go, well, what else can you give me? Like
Yeah.
How much more money can you get? And it's like, no, like that's not how this works, man. Like, we've got a really good situation here, but, I don't have $50,000 to just give a kid to come and just, play basketball. Like, and that's what it becomes, and that's what it's about, right? It's like, well, what can you give me? And it's like, no, like that's not how this works, man. Like, what can you bring to us? And if you experience this, you're going to leave here with something that is way more valuable than you can put in to dollar signs, because honestly, it's not going to be enough money to make a difference anyway. So that's what I love about it, is just, you talk about the word purity. I think it still remains one of the more pure forms of college athletics is within the Crossroads League right here, watching these kids play and these coaches coach and these fans come out. So I love being a part of it, and it would be a lot to get me out of here.
And I'd echo that too. I mean, I'm not sure you could say it any better than what Scott just said. The purity of this level, the relational piece of it, the experience. There's no amount of money. I think of my college experience playing at a smaller college level, where I don't regret a single thing, even the tough times. And I think, if basketball is not all it's cracked up to be, maybe you're not playing as much, maybe you get hurt. The players still love their experience. They love their teammates. They love their school. They love the culture.
Yep.
And that's why you don't see a ton of guys leaving Grace, Bethel, and other places in our league. And so it's, like Scott said, it's special. It's the experience. It's the relational piece. And you prepare, these 4 or 5 years, however long it takes, for your future, and creating those values. And that's going to prepare you for a successful future.
Well, I want to tell you both how much I appreciate you taking a few minutes to do this. I'm really looking forward to the game on Wednesday. I love Crossroad League basketball. You two are two of the best. I always enjoy talking to you guys, and I want to tell you thank you very much.
Thank you, Billy D. And Scott, I'll answer your call next time. I promise.
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, that's Steve Drabyn, Bethel University, and Scott Moore, Grace Lancers. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Hey, once more, thank you very much to Scott Moore and Steve Drabyn. Really enjoyed that call. Scott, I was going to use the glamour shots you sent, but I decided I'd have to go with the shot on your website. Better luck next time. Hey, there was one top 25 game last night. Nelson, after their loss at College of the Ozarks, came back and they defeated Texas Wesleyan 82-74. This game They were down. Nelson was down 15 at halftime. Very rough, very physical game. But Nelson really came back and finished strong in this one. J.J. Bowling, 25 points, 3 rebounds, and then another senior, Jesse Awise. He had 13 points, 15 rebounds, a big boy double-double, and Nelson got the victory. Hey, while I'm on Nelson, the other night when College of Ozarks beat Nelson, I was pulling up games. You know, there's so many over the weekend. I'm not going to make excuses. I was pulling up games. I saw that the young man at College of Ozarks, number one, that Nelson got upset, and that the young man at College of Ozarks scored 50, and that's the story I ran with. And I didn't realize until today that Micah Clark had also scored 50 in the game. And I'm very embarrassed, and I want to apologize to Nelson, to Micah Clark, and Delton Deal. It's a class act program, and I should have highlighted that he scored 50 points. Not only he scored 50 points, he had 10 rebounds for a double-double. So please accept my apologies. Okay, that's what I have for tonight. I'm going on the road again on Tuesday, so when you hear this, I'm going to be on the road, going down about a 6-hour drive for me down the I-5 to near the California border to the campus of Southern Oregon University. Big rivalry game down there. It's going to be tons of fun. Hope to send you some reports from there. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school, because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.